نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا زدنا علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so yesterday we finished the translation of Surah Al Kafiroon. So let's see. I'm gonna just pick a few words and you guys can unmute and let me know the meaning of those words. Okay. Okay. Al Kafiroon.
Disbelievers.
The disbelievers.
Disbelievers.
Right. Ta'budun.
You worship.
You worship. You worship.
Abid.
I worship.
I worship.
No.
Worshippers.
Worshipper. Good job. Abid is a doer. Okay. Abud is I worship. Qul. Easy word.
Say.
Say. Good job. Dinukum.
Is your religion.
It's your religion.
Your religion. Good job. Antum. Antum means you.
Not.
You. It's a pronoun.
Right.
Just like I, me, she, he. So that's the pronoun you. Antum means you. Ana.
I.
Good job.
I.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So inshallah, let's go to our sheet. And yeah, let me erase that. We don't need this. Okay, so first thing, what I would like to ask you all. So we did the translation of the entire surah yesterday. Anyone would like to tell me what did you learn from this surah? Yes, Zara?
Okay, so can I do like a little recap of this surah? So basically the surah is about worshiping in disbelievers, like how disbelievers don't believe in Allah, but we do, and how we worship him, and how our religions are different, and how we should go like separate ways. So yeah, that's what basically this surah is all about. And we learned a few words that occur a lot.
Got it.
Like
good job.
Like Qul and Abid and Abud and yeah.
Yes, very nice. Good. Riz, anything to add?
This surah is talking to the disbelievers and it basically giving them like they're telling the disbelievers that what they're not exactly saying it, but by what they're saying, I do not worship what you all worship, and you don't worship what I worship. They're saying that like the disbelievers, they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, your voice is getting like, slightly distorted.
Yeah, I'm in the car, that's why.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Anyone else would like to share? Okay. So the way it started was that when it were a few years and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was, of course, he was told to preach Islam, and some people started to accept Islam, and most of them who started to accept Islam were poor people. And, those poor people would sit in Prophet Muhammad's company and, they would be seen with him. So the first problem that the people who were like, the elite class people had were, of course, with problem with those people. Like, why do these people sit? And we can't come where these people are sitting. How could you have a slave sit on the chair with you? I mean, sorry, we can't do that. They're supposed to sit on the ground. So they had all those issues, but then they saw that, the Islam is growing. There are like people coming into Islam, and then there is kind of a anarchy in the society. Half people are Muslims, half are not. There is chaos. So eventually those disbelievers, the main, people, they went to Abu Talib. Do you know who's Abu Talib?
Yes.
I know.
Prophet Muhammad's uncle, that's right, who was actually protecting him. So they went to him and they said, hey, can you please tell your nephew to stop? So, he said, no, I cannot. And of course, I'm paraphrasing everything. So then he said, okay, it's fine. We let's reach an agreement, they were so arrogant and they had so much pride that they couldn't accept Prophet Muhammad as their leader or somebody who they would follow. So they said, okay, let's do a deal. 1 year, let's worship your God. And then next year, let's worship our God. Let's do that. And then they offered Prophet Sallam, I don't know what, like, we're gonna give you all the money you want. We're gonna have you married to whichever lady you want to get married to in Makkah. We're gonna give you whatever you want, but just please stop it. And that's where Prophet Sallam said his famous statement that even if these people, they put moon in one hand and sun in another, I'm still not going to stop, because that's what Allah told me to do. That's my job. Okay, one problem, is it possible for Prophet ﷺ to accept the fact that, okay, let's do the deal, let's worship your God for 1 year and all the gods another year? Was it even an option? Does it look like an option? No, right? Okay. But there was one more issue, what those people were totally not able to understand. And that's what I'm going to tell you. And I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you a video. Okay, so just let me play the video for you. And when we play the video, after that, I'm going to ask you that so many things will be clear. Like the word, just Zara said that this word came so many times, the word Abd, which means to worship. Let's find out what exactly it means when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to tell them, I don't worship. Prophet ﷺ is saying, I do not worship what you all worship. Okay, then you do not worship what I worship. Next. And I'm not a worshiper of what you all worship. Right? So we said this word worship, worshiper so many times. So what is worship? Right? Isn't that we're supposed to find out? Okay, we use this word so many times. So let's find out what exactly is worship. So before I play the video, who knows what is worship? What is abd? What is worship? Yes, Zara.
Worshipping is basically thanking and, okay, so it's kind of hard to explain. So like how we worship Allah as an example, like we basically thank him for everything. Since he made everything, we basically thank him and kind of like he's like our everything, and we treasure him a lot.
Right.
Kind of hard to explain though.
So you said worship means thanking Allah, right? That's what you said primarily. Okay, so worship is thanking Allah. Remember that. Riz, what is worship?
It can come in like a form of prayer.
Sorry, I cannot hear you. So it's thanking Allah according to Zara, which is good. Yes, Riz, what were you saying?
It can come in a form of prayer.
Prayer? That's what you said? Praying to Allah? Yeah. Okay, praying to Allah, that's another worship. Okay. Okay, Ahmed, anything else you think is worship? No? Ahmed? Okay, anyone else?
Can I say another thing?
Sure, yeah.
After Ahmed.
Yeah.
Yes, Ahmed, quickly. I need to show the video as well. Come on.
So
quickly.
when you worship to, someone that like the person that you get help from.
Help, asking for help. Okay, good.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
So it's basically obeying Allah, like
obeying Allah. That's good. You're getting very nice. You got good points. Okay, who else? Inaya and Saifullah? Anything else you can think of in the list? What is worship?
I think it's like acknowledging that they're like the all-powerful and respecting the deity or Allah.
Okay, that's also worship, acknowledging Allah is all powerful. Okay, anyone else? Mahnur?
I don't know.
Okay, no worries. Rohan?
I don't know.
Okay, no worries. She's?
I was gonna say obeying Allah, but someone said it.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Sumaya?
Yeah.
Yes. What is worship?
Well, I was going to say praying and thanking Allah, but
Praying and thanking
I guess
Allah.
someone else said it.
Yeah, okay.
And
so that's
also just thinking of like other like ways to like synonyms for worship and giving the definitions kind of hard.
Yes, so that is the point. That's exactly where I want to bring you that. Yes, it may not necessarily be a synonym of worship. Worship may be something, could be a vague translation of the word abd, but it may not be the whole thing. Yes, we say that, okay, we worship Allah. Abudu means I worship. Okay, but what is worship in Islam, which is abd, as compared to what is worship in everywhere else? How do we understand worship? How we Muslims understand worship? And this is a very good time since we just started. Like, for example, I can ask you, okay, you said praying to Allah, asking for help, obeying Allah. Right now we are studying Quran, right? Where is that? Nobody said it. Is that not worship?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Right? So what are we doing right now?
I'm learning the translation of surahs and listing what worship is.
Yes. Is it not worship?
Oh yeah, it is.
It is, right? So, okay. So what exactly is worship? And that is something, this is good that we should understand as close to start of our journey as possible. So we know exactly what are we supposed to do to make Allah happy, right? Okay, so time to go to the video. Okay, I have to stop sharing the screen, so I have to share the sound.
Why can't we see this? Wait, so we can't see the screen?
No, we can't just share the sound. She has to stop sharing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there you go.
I want you to understand the word ibadah in Arabic, or
hear?
ubudiyya, the masdar.
Yep.
Yes.
It includes two things. If I translate them as one of those two things, it's incomplete. And it's a limitation of English as opposed to classical
I can hear
Arabic. Classical Arabic combines many concepts at the same time. And so if we just look at a partial translation or partial meaning of the concept, there's confusion left in the mind. The two terms that completely or comprehensively cover all aspects of ibadah or ubudiyya are two things. Those are worship and slavery. There are two terms, worship and slavery. A lot of times we either take worship or we take slavery, but there are two separate things in English, but they're combined in Arabic into the word ibadah and ubudiyah. So when the messenger says, La a'budu ma ta'budun, it doesn't just mean I will not worship. Also, I will not be enslaved to. I will not become a slave of. Very briefly, I'll remind you of the difference between worship and slavery. When Maghrib happened, we worshipped Allah. When Isha comes up, we will worship Allah. But in between the prayers, what are we? Slaves of Allah. When you're sleeping, you're not worshipping, but you're still a slave. When you wake up, when you're driving to work, brushing your teeth, eating your breakfast, parking your car, even if you're not reciting Quran or you're not doing an act of worship, you are still what? A slave. In other words, worship is specific acts. The act of fasting, the act of praying, the act of making hajj, the act of reciting Quran, the act of giving sadaqah. These are acts of worship. But a slave is a slave all the time, whether he does those acts or not. This concept is very powerful. It means we are to live according to how Allah wants us to live, not just in Jum'ah during the khutbah and when the salah is going on. We are enslaved to Allah in between the prayers too. حَافِظُوا عَلَى الصَّلَوَاتِ وَالصَّلَاةِ الْوُسْطَى. And Salat al-Wusta, some commentary says it's between the prayers. Be connected to Allah too. You know what happens a lot of times? People worship Allah, but they still don't act like His slave. Somebody owns a liquor store, comes to the salah for 5 times. He worships Allah, but he's clearly not acting like what? A slave. He's not obeying Allah. And sometimes, because we have these partial English definitions, you know what happens? We think to ourselves, hey, at least I worship Him. At least I worship Him, so my job is done. No, you worshipped Him, but you're still not a abd of Allah. Worship is one part, slavery is the other. Ibadah includes both. Now the Arabs, they had 2 problems. There are 2 problems. They refused to worship Allah, but you know what the bigger problem is? They refused to be Allah's slaves. There are 2 problems in this surah. We have to make those problems distinct. When they refuse to bow down only to Allah and get rid of all the idols, what is that a problem of? Worship or slavery? That's a problem of worship. But when they refuse to give the orphan, when they refuse to not kill the baby girl, when they refuse to not feed the poor, when they refuse to not give justice, when they refuse to kill without having right to do so, when they abuse the slave, when they do all of these things, what are they refusing to do? They're refusing to act like Allah's slaves. Being Allah's slave includes you worship Him and you act like His slave. 2 things. So now understand the ayah. La a'budu ma ta'budun. La a'budu, I will not be enslaved to, and I will not worship what you have been worshipping. Now we have to understand, Allah, in this ayah, the messenger is being told to talk about what they worship and what they are slaves of. So what is it that they worship, and what is it that they're slaves of? They're worshippers of idols, false gods. And they are slaves of their own desires. 2 things. They worship the idols, and they are slaves of their own selves, their own hawa, their own nafs. And the messenger says, I refuse to worship your idols, and I refuse to be enslaved to my own desires. I refuse both of those things. I'm never going to. Now, the mushrikun said, he's been rejecting our religion for a decade now almost. Let's give him a compromise, maybe the future. Makkah has become pretty tense, Always this confrontation between the Muslims and the kuffar. Let's make a compromise, life will become better. Well, we're willing to accept your religion for a year, and you accept our religion the next year. And then we'll come back to yours this next year, and we'll all share, in other words, we all share Islam for a season, then we'll all share shirk for a season. And if we compromise, things will get better. There won't be any tension in Makkah anymore. So our future will be better. La a'budu, according to most grammarians, the la on the mudari' actually more than present illustrates the future. In other words, the messenger says, don't have your hopes up. I am not going to. It's never going to happen. I will never, if you're thinking the future is going to be softer on you, I will never worship, and I will refuse to be enslaved to whatever you worship and you are enslaved to. That is never going to happen. Get that out of your head.
Okay. So, Question. When he said that, so we worship Allah and we are slaves of Allah. These are the two meanings of the word abd. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, another video started. Okay, so he said two things, right? Number one, worshiping Allah. We worship Allah and we are slaves of Allah. And he gave a very beautiful example that worship is done at a specific time, but being slave of Allah is constant. We will always remain slave of Allah. But when he said that the kuffar, the kafirin, are slaves of their desires. What is desires? Yes, Riz?
When it's like your own desire to do something, it's like your own will, like you're doing it yourself.
Absolutely. Zara, anything else to add? I can't hear anything. It's too laggy.
It's basically, like their own willpower and what they want, their own desire, like what they want, and like their own will.
Is that a bad thing?
And like in what situation it is.
You're asking me or you're telling me?
I'm telling you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so like it depends on the situation. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So desire can be good or bad, right?
Yes. Like if you desire to have peace, that's good. If you desire to have war, then that's bad.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a very good answer. Anyone else want to say something about desires? So desires are a lot of things that are sometimes there, like they come in our heart. Sometimes due to shaitan's whispers. Sometimes it's due to, the way we are born. Like, everybody wants to be wealthy. Everybody wants to look beautiful. And these are not bad desires. This is nothing wrong in having these. The bad thing is when you try to get those things using wrong means. That's where it gets bad. So usually it starts with something not bad. I mean, the desires. Eventually, what do you want? You want to be looking nice. You want to be praised. You want to be a wealthy person. You want to have a lot of money. But then you take wrong means. That's where it becomes bad. And that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us as well. That Allah sometimes put these things in front of us to see whether we take the right path or the wrong path. Eventually, we're going to get what we are supposed to get in this world. Nobody can change that. If we were supposed to have that much wealth, we will get that wealth. Now, the route that we took to get that can be a problem. So, absolutely. So that's what it is, that those people wanted to take the route that they desired. They could not leave that. Like, for example, he gave the example of killing baby girls. I mean, it was there in their mind that, if girls grow up, they are useless. They're only gonna, they're not gonna help us in doing business. So it's a loss. They just considered it a loss. So they would just kill the girls. Or using wrong means to do business. They just cannot leave it because in their minds, if they do business honestly, they're going to suffer loss. How can we even do that? How can we not lie and cheat? Their entire business, most of them, their business was they would do what is called tijara. They were merchants. They would bring stuff from other cities and sell in their city. And they would take stuff from their own city and take it to other cities. And they would not think of any other way except then lying. And they would lie in the name of their gods. Oh, this is so perfect. This is the best ever. But actually it would not be. They would lie about their merchandise. So all those things, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would stop them from doing this, they would not like it. That was not something that they would want to do. And on top of everything, they did not want to lose control. You know, if they become Allah's slaves, they would lose control. They would not be able to make decisions. They would lose the power. I mean, it's a big thing to be a person of power. If you accept Allah as your God and you accept yourself as a slave, then where is the power? No power for you then. And they were so used to having that powerful status and, you know, doing whatever they wanted. So that's what they did not want. Okay, inshallah, we are on time. Alhamdulillah, we finished the surah. I think, if there's any other question, we can take it on Monday. But inshallah, tomorrow we will start Surah Nasr. Jazakallahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.